So I want to start off by saying welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, welcome. If you're a fanatic of everything entertainment, this is the channel for you, but in today's movie review, we'll be talking about 2024's The Crow. So let's get into it. I, like everyone else, when the first photos were released of Bill Skarsgård as The Crow, I was a bit concerned. And then the trailer came out and I'm like, okay, it doesn't seem that bad. It doesn't seem good either, but it looks like it's going to be watchable. It looks like it might have a little bit of fun in it. And I don't want to sound like that guy, but I hate that I was semi-rooting for this movie too. I don't know, the marketing behind this one and the press tour that Bill Skarsgård and FKA Twigs went on had me a bit concerned. They really had ASMR for The Crow to promote this movie.
Hi, I'm FKA Twigs.
And I'm Bill Skarsgård.
And today we're going to do some Crow ASMR.
Now, if you're a fan of that, cool. But why in the fuck would you advertise a movie with ASMR? Also, in like interviews that I saw leading up to the movie, I saw that Bill Skarsgård he didn't seem proud of this. He seemed like he didn't want to be there. Sort of seemed like that in the movie anyways, but we'll get into that later. But yeah, everything like leading up to this movie, like there were only like 3 other people in the theater with us to see this last night. And this was opening night. So I guess that might say something about the movie itself. But with that said, let's get to the positives with this film. Yes, despite what I said, about me semi-regretting rooting for this film, I do have some positives with it. First up has to be the action sequences in here. I thought that, for the most part, they were all pretty good. I'm not saying they're going to top the original or they're, going to top John Wick, but I don't know. I think if there's one thing that this movie does better, I think it's the action sequences, because in the original they were semi-cheesy and they sort of mixed like modern day action mixed with John Woo of the 80s and 90s. So like it's not for everyone. I had fun with it. Like the action in the first film is like very fun and cheesy, and this one felt not grounded, but like it felt like it had an impact to it. Like you could feel every punch, every slice, every dice, every gunshot wounds. If that's one thing that I prefer in this film over the original, it's that and only that. But then again, like every action sequence was spooled in the trailer. Given they're like 30 seconds to a minute longer than what the trailer was given, but you basically got the entire scene of the opera scene because they released it onto YouTube. And then, the car chase scene or the car fight scene, they released that online too. And I'm like, the fuck are you doing? Even though you don't buy their relationship, or you semi do, I like that the first 20-30 minutes is Eric and Shelley getting to know each other. We'll get into the actors here in a minute, but like but us actually trying to get behind their relationship, I thought was pretty cool. I don't think it pays off. We'll get into that later, but I like the idea of it, that we actually get to spend time with Eric and Shelley. And then I like the car that Eric drives towards the end, the Ferrari, the old Ferrari. I thought that was pretty cool. And another thing I want to add to the positives is the gore in here, and felt really impactful at times, but at times you could tell it was CGI. I wish they went practical over CGI, but I loved the gore in here. I felt whenever necks were snapped or someone got their jaw cut off, I thought that was pretty cool. Some of the music in here was pretty cool. I had to Shazam like 2 songs in here because they sounded pretty cool. But nothing compared to the original, because even like the original soundtrack was something to behold back in the day, and this doesn't really hold a candle. So that said, let's get into the things that I'm mixed on with this film. Bill, I know you're a great actor. He plays Pennywise in the 2 It films, and he plays in the last John Wick. He plays in this year's Boy Kills World, which he was the best part of that film. The action sequences in that film were great. He did great in that film, and everything that I've seen him in, I was always a fan. But in here, I don't know if he just like he didn't want to be there, because I don't know if he like fully went along with the director's vision, because he just, for half of the film, he just didn't seem like he wanted to be there. And then you could have the argument, whenever he turns to the Crow, that like he's getting revenge, but he's not enjoying himself. He's like pretty sad, but I think there were too on the nose with that too. Like his tattoo says "Cry now, cry later." Like if I was a teenager, I'd get that. I'd be like, yeah, that's pretty cool. But as a 25-year-old man, that is a bit cringe. But then again, all these films have lines and things of cringery in them. I do a lot of cringe things. As you guys can see, I've been on YouTube for almost the last 6 years, and I've done some pretty cringe shit. But that some of the tattoos and some of the lines were in here were too on the nose. But like, I think he did an okay performance. I think if he had a different director and a different story, or not a different story, but just a different vision, different director, I think he could have done great in here. But overall, I was mixed on it. Another thing that I mixed on in here is the main villain. You have Danny Houston in here, but they have like a supernatural element to it, which I'm not a fan of. But then again, all these films have supernatural elements where someone gets murdered and they come back from the dead to avenge their loved ones. In here, the main villain in here has a supernatural element to him. He works for Satan, if I'm not mistaken. And he's got like powers where he's been around for centuries. Cool, I guess. Danny Houston did okay in here, but I did feel for like his protege in here, because once she seen him do some shit, I felt bad for her. So like, there's that. But with that being said, let's get into things that I didn't like about this film. I don't know where to begin with here, because this film feels very soulless. Let's go with Eric Draven, okay? Eric Draven in here. Not a fan of the look. At times it does look good. Just not his hair. You know, if he had better hair, if he didn't have that mullet thing going on, I think it would have actually worked. Because at times I was like, okay, I'm buying it. Whenever they're shooting from like here down, I'm like, okay, it looks cool. But you look at the hair, it's atrocious. All the tattoos too were a bit over the top. I don't believe that Eric Draven, the original, had tattoos. But he does seem like someone that has tattoos, but not these types, especially the eye over the nipple in here. What the fuck was that? And there's like some other ones, like I said, there were two on the nose, like cry now, cry later. But yeah, the director of this film said that his inspiration for Eric Draven here was Lil Peep. What? I don't want to disrespect Lil Peep, but I have a couple of arguments with that, okay? One, Lil Peep doesn't seem like the type of person you would want to base The Crow off of, you know? Two, the style doesn't really work in here either. Three, this is going to sound really mean, but I don't want it to seem that way, but I mean, it makes sense. Lil Peep died 7 years ago, back in 2017, and I'm a fan of a couple of his songs, so I'm not trying to like sound like a dick or anything, but he passed away 7 years ago, and I'm not trying to sound this way. He's no longer relevant. Like, no one really goes out and talks about Lil Peep. No one really says Lil Peep is their favorite artist anymore. Like, yes, maybe a year or two after he passed, because it was such a big impact on that scene. But if you want to connect to a newer generation, this isn't the way to go. Like, maybe base it off someone nowadays. I'm not kept up to date in that world, but I'm sure there's someone out there that could sort of fit in with The Crow. I don't know. Lil Peep wasn't really the way to go. And yeah, you want to base Eric Draven off Lil Peep. Like, even some of the styles, even some of the clothing that Eric wears in here, I'm like, yeah, that is very Lil Peep. I get it, but no, dude, no. Another thing that I'm not a fan of is the relationship between Shelly and Eric Draven. I want to start off by saying I did like that, like, the first 20-30 minutes is them trying to build a relationship with Eric and Shelly. But this trailer sort of made it out to be that, like, these were two addicts in recovery trying to get better. And this is going to sound like a dick thing too, but, like, they're not trying to get better. They're still wanting to go out and do drugs and party and stuff. And if you want to do that, that's cool, but I'm just saying that, like, don't lead us a certain way in the trailers to be like, oh, they're working on themselves, they're going to be better and all this and that. But in actuality, like, every scene they get together, they're either wanting to get really high or they want to have sex. Like, that's not really a relationship, and you want to base true love and a real relationship off that. That's not a real relationship. That's like a fling that lasts maybe a year at most. I don't know. It didn't really seem like true love or real love that they're trying to convey in the marketing and everything. It just doesn't really work. And FKA Twigs in here, I think she has like the first or second scene in here. And I knew from here on out I wasn't going to be a fan. She gets a little bit better throughout the movie, but like, I'm not a fan of her acting. I think this was like her first big movie. She might have been in other films with a small role. No offense, she could have kept it that way. I believe she's a singer. She could have just stayed with that because she did okay with that one part where she was singing. You know, it was okay. But I'm not a fan of their relationship. I'm not a fan of FKA Twigs. This film just doesn't feel like The Crow, you know? The action sequences, even though I really like them, they don't feel The Crow. This feels like what I told my friend when I saw the trailer. It feels like John Wick Bird Edition. So, like, yes, this movie doesn't feel like The Crow. I'm not one. I was rooting for this film, so I'm not. I'm not here being like, oh, it's gonna fail from the start. It's gonna be absolutely terrible. It's not The Crow. I was like, I'm willing to give it a chance. But no. I mean, there are some good things in here. I mentioned him. I'm mixed on Bill Skarsgård. He is a great actor and everything, but I was just really disappointed with this. And it is the worst movie of the year. I've only seen 10 movies this year. I need to get kept up to date with some movies. So if you guys have any recommendations for me, let me know. But yeah, I haven't seen as many movies this year as I did previously. I hate that, but it is the worst movie of the year because I sort of pick and choose what I really want to see nowadays. Back then it was like I gotta see everything. So yeah, I was really looking forward to this. And with that being said, I'm going to be giving 2024's The Crow an overall grade of a 44%. Let me know in the comments below if you liked it more than I did, or if you hated it more than I did. Let me know. But the only good thing that came out of this, I guess, is like it's not the worst Crow film. There's 2 other ones that I put below this one, but even then that's not saying much because, like I said, I gave this a 44%. And even the one that I think is okay is like a 59%. It's what kids call mid. The Crow Salvation. I think that one's watchable. I think it's okay. The only one that's worth watching is the first film, and it's only ever going to be the first film, which I hate to sound like that because a lot of people told me this going into this film. There's only going to be one Crow film that's worth watching. And I was like, no, we need to give it a chance. No. The first film is the only one worth watching. So, with that being said, I just want to say thank you as always for watching my videos, and I hope to see you in the next one.